Hi everyone, due to a scheduling conflict, I will not be releasing a new podcast episode this week. Instead, I'm sharing a replay of a conversation I've had with Ashley Moses, and you can find this video on YouTube. She's a neuroscience PhD candidate at Stanford University. She's also the founder of PhD Pass. It's a valuable resource for academics exploring careers outside of academia. It's essentially a database of hundreds of experiences from individuals working in non-academic roles. If you're interested, I will leave a link in the description. Thanks.
On that note, the biggest way that folks found careers outside of academia is either through their personal network or LinkedIn. More than 50% of people found their future career outside of academia. And I think people really need to start early. They can't just wait till the end of their PhD or their postdoc to start networking.
I've launched a new working list of job opportunities specifically curated for master's and PhD students and graduates. These opportunities are not low-paying gigs. I focus on roles where employers are highly motivated to hire advanced degree holders and they're ready to put serious money in your pockets, with some of these roles paying up to $50 an hour. Best of all, this list features a wide range of remote roles across high-demand fields like AI, education, and educational tech. And if you're interested, please check out afteryourphd.com and look for job listings at the top of the page, or I can leave a link below in the description. Thanks. Wanted to really talk about something that you founded. It's called PhD Paths. So I want to let you open up and just tell us a little bit more about what PhD Paths is and how it can benefit essentially academics, other PhD students who are just wondering what's out there once they complete their PhD.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So PhD Pass is meant to be the ultimate resource or a great resource for folks learning to kind of understand what they can do with their PhD. So I'm a PhD candidate myself, and I have spent enough time Googling what can I do with my PhD. And there's some resources out there, but I wanted to hear from the folks who had actually gone through those paths. That's why it's called PhD Path. And so PhD Pass is a website that hosts two main resources. One is a portfolio, which has the names, the jobs, the locations, the contact information, etc., of all 100 or so PhDs that have gone to non-academic careers. And then we also have a profiles section, which is essentially a bunch of informational interviews that anybody can look at, because informational interviews are crucial for figuring out what you want to do. And that includes what the job entails, favorite part of the job, as well as the path that this person took. And then there are awesome pieces of advice for how to get that job yourself.
Yeah, and like I was noticing when I was looking at your LinkedIn background, it says that you were part of the civilian. Is that related to PhD paths at all? And that maybe is that the reason how PhD paths came about?
No, this is actually something separate.
Oh, okay.
When I was figuring out what I wanted to do with my PhD, something that I'm particularly passionate about is helping researchers communicate their work. I think we have tons and tons of incredible discoveries happening. Millions of papers are published every single year. And if I were to hand that paper to my mom or my younger brother, they would be like, how do I read this? What do I do? And so that is my nonprofit work that I do to help researchers create lay summaries of their work and communicate their findings to like a general audience.
Yeah, no, I think that's really helpful because I think when I listen to the radio and whenever they talk about research, it's so like distilled and not very helpful at all. So yeah, I could see how that could definitely help people. But at any rate, I think going back to PhD paths though, let's talk more about that because I think the audience will definitely care about kind of like the mission of it. So when did you say it was founded? I think it was like more recently because I remember seeing a LinkedIn post about it. So has this been in development for a couple months, maybe a year? Like maybe talk a little bit more about the founding of it.
Sure. I started developing it in August, I believe. And that was just me collecting a bunch of these informational interviews and building the portfolio that I told you about. So I wanted to have 50 before I announced it to the world. I wanted to make sure it was a pretty beefed up resource before sharing it with folks. And then in September, I think it was when I launched, and I did not expect at all the great response that came from folks who are interested. So I think over 450 1,000 people ended up seeing the post, and a lot of people were just super stoked about it. And then from there, I've been able to grow it to over 100 PhDs, and I'm just going to keep going. I want this to be a
Yeah, absolutely.
massive resource that people can look to. So I'm hoping to gather more folks from different countries. It's
Mhm.
very US focused right now. And then it's very science focused. A lot of my
Yeah.
network, since I'm in neurosciences, a lot of my network is sciencey and engineering. So I'm looking to grow that as well because there are so many fields you can get a PhD in.
Yeah, that was going to be my actually other question about like the types of PhDs that are listed here, but yeah, it does. I guess I could see it being like STEM focused. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good segue. Like, are there any other trends though? Not necessarily like types of degrees, but types of narratives that you're seeing, like why, like in terms of like why people are leaving.
Yeah, so I've started kind of compiling the data and
Hmm.
trying to understand what's going on. So I'm still in the early phases, but out of the 100, we get a really interesting look at why folks are leaving academia. So a little bit over 30% of people are leaving because of culture. So this culture involves like improper work-life balance, and improper in their eyes. It also involves burnout or stress,
Yeah.
pressure to publish, all these sorts of things that folks just want somewhere else.
Hmm. And like, so when you talk about culture too, like, does that like also encompass like pay or any like financial reasons, or is that kind of in a separate category?
Yeah, so pay is in a separate category.
Mhm.
I have it split up into six different categories. That's how I decided to just kind of look at the data. I think I could go a bunch of different ways,
Mhm.
and that will be to come. But for now, I've
Yeah.
split it up into culture, which is more, some of these things that I talked about, like stress and work environment and all those sorts of
Yeah.
things. I also have career desires. There are plenty of
Mhm.
people, which I think is not talked about as much, but there are plenty
Yeah.
of people who just want a different career. They're just like, I am
Yeah.
called to something else. My skills called to something else. I'm not running away from academia. I'm running to something else. And so that's about
Mhm.
20% of folks. And then I have split it up into other things like pay. A lot of folks, about
Yeah.
20% want higher pay, higher
Mhm.
compensation. And then the three other categories are just general constraints, which is like, hey, I need to live somewhere because of my family and I can't,
Mhm.
this specific needed me to go somewhere else. The job market itself, maybe they tried to get into academia or
Yeah.
they didn't, but that's the lowest percentage. And then impact. About 10% of folks just wanted to have a bigger impact than they felt they could have in academia.
Yeah. No, these are really interesting points, and you have a lot of data like support this, and just like how people are leaving. So I think that's just really helpful, I think, at any rate. So in terms of like the people that are also like filling out these forms, are they also like current faculty, or are they like PhD students who are considering the academic job market and then kind of deciding to do something else?
And by forms, do you mean the folks who
I
are
guess,
in this portfolio?
yeah, for the ones in a portfolio, I do wonder, like, are they like current like faculty or current like people that are currently like working as professors and then deciding to leave because of the culture, or is it kind of people
Oh.
that are about to like embark maybe on the academic job market and then they're looking at other paths as well?
Yeah, so everybody in the PhD Pass database already has a job outside of academia. So
Okay,
it's really just following
okay,
them from their PhD to where they are now. Now,
gotcha.
we have a couple who have
I see.
been professors before and then they left to go do something else. But all of the people have gotten a PhD and then now they have a job in
Okay.
a non-academic sector.
Well, I guess that makes more sense in that they're fully like outside of
Hmm.
the academic system now. Because I do see like at least when I was like my undergrad, there was oftentimes like a maybe a professor who was like a lawyer, and then they were like maybe teaching like a class or something like that as an adjunct. So it's like they had
Right.
both fit like inside the industry and academia. So it does seem like more like segmented like that.
Yeah,
So
that's
I think it'd
totally
be
possible.
yeah,
By the way. Yeah,
and for
totally
sure.
possible.
And
I just wanted to know, like, I built this kind of selfishly. I mean, to be completely honest,
especially.
I wanted a resource where that I could
Mhm.
use, where I could be like, okay, I'm interested in careers outside of
Mhm.
academia. What does that mean? What does that look like? And how can I get there, right? I want to know the exact steps that you took to go from where I am getting a PhD to now you work at a media company or now
Mm,
you work for the government of India. Like how did we go from point A
mm,
to point B? How did that happen? And so that is what this is basically like, look, you got your PhD, you did it, and
mm.
where did you go? What was your path? Hence the name PhD path. And so that's what.
Yeah. Well, in terms of like the personal like questions development for you, like do you feel that you have a better idea of what you want to do? Are you still kind of exploring that through this project?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I have a better idea of what I am interested in pursuing.
Mm,
Exactly what that looks like, we're still working on it. I have
yeah.
time. I just started my third year of my PhD, but I'm really interested in pursuing the entrepreneurial path, which is a path that a lot of
Mm,
PhDs take. I'm also really passionate about helping other students in their career discovery process. I think that would just be joyous to do. I've learned a lot in my own experience and then also with all of this data that I've collected. And so I think using that to help folks in the future and grow PhD Pass and grow some of my other projects would be really exciting.
mm,
Um, I just yeah, and I have gotten to learn so much from this process as well. One of my favorite parts of the profile section, which are the informational
mm,
interviews, is all the
yeah.
advice. Oh my gosh, just the community of people who are outside of academic careers and willing to share advice for people like
Yeah.
me, other students, postdocs, all that sort of stuff. Um, I just highly recommend anyone to go look at any advice section on any of the interviews, and it is just full of a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, I know, and I agree like that a lot of PhDs are very like open to like sharing their experiences. Like I talk about this like on LinkedIn too, where like people will be willing to talk to you, especially if you have some sort of academic background. I feel like there's like a shared like sense of like community, even if you have a different like PhD. Like I think the struggle is it seems to be common, so I think people are willing to kind of like help you. So like for instance, you talk about these profiles and I haven't like explored that part just yet or essentially like all the like if you want to reach out. All right. I haven't explored too much with the profiles. If someone was interested in like speaking to someone, like you would be able to go on the site, reach out to them like through their LinkedIn or through like an email, correct?
Yeah, so on the portfolio, as
Portfolio,
you
my
could
bad.
probably
Yeah.
tell, I like alliterations. So this is
Hmm.
PhD pass. We have a
Yeah.
portfolio, we have profiles. I'm just going to try to make everything have a P at some point. But the portfolio is the Google Sheets database that has
Hmm.
everything. And
I
on
see.
there,
Okay.
you can see which folks are willing to talk to you at the moment and how to reach
Hmm.
out to them. And so I
That's a good
believe
point.
like
Okay.
98, 99% of people are willing to chat via LinkedIn or via email. And
Hmm.
so it has their LinkedIn or it says reach out on LinkedIn or it says email and you can contact folks there. Yeah. So I would
Yeah,
check
that's
that for that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah. And I think that's to me like the great thing about it is that you can contact people because I think it's one
Yeah.
thing to like hear their stories, like seeing these like in text, but I think the ability to like reach out to them, I think is another like step. I think that'll really help PhDs so they can really kind of get
Mhm.
it a little bit more context, anything that they're missing, because I feel like just forming that connection too, like if it's like organic and like makes sense like for that connection to happen. So I think there's definitely like a lot there too. Um
Yeah, we've
so,
already had a few people connect through the
oh well,
PhD
it's
pass
good.
process, which has been really exciting.
Mm,
I think the ultimate goal is to just start providing those connections, providing information, yes, but you have to take it one step further when you're looking for careers outside of academia. You really have to
mm.
go on and form those connections. And so this
Yeah,
is
for sure.
literally a database of people who are not only willing to share their story, but willing to talk to you about their
Yeah.
story. And we have consultants, entrepreneurs, staff scientists, data analysts,
Mm.
freelance medical writers, medical science liaisons. We have people working in the police department, patent law. Like we have like there's
There's a
so
lot of
many
paths.
people, and you can talk to pretty much any of them through
Hmm.
PhD Pass. Like I just think that's yeah, I'm really jazzed about it.
Yeah, and I definitely see the value there, and so I'm glad this exists. And this is something that maybe we talked about for the call, like this is primarily about career discovery, correct?
Mhm.
There's not like the advice that you're getting is from individuals, not necessarily just PhD paths, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's the whole goal is to help with career discovery, right? When you
yeah.
ask that question as a PhD student, what do I want
Hmm.
to do with my PhD? Which I think every PhD student should ask themselves, even postdocs, right?
Hmm.
It's never too early, never too late to ask yourself that. It's
Yeah.
what can I do with my degree? And I think when you're
Yeah.
in academia, at least this was my case, you very much think academia is the only way. I can really only be a
Hmm.
professor. And sometimes a lot of us get into PhD land to be a professor. We think it's cool. We like teaching, you like research, whatever. And
Yeah.
then you maybe for
So,
some reason you realize that it's just not, it doesn't fit with your life. And so I think
hmm.
something that's missing in the conversation a lot is how we can synchronize our career and our life goals. And a lot of people forget the life part. And that part is huge. I think that part has given me a lot of motivation, a lot of excitement about what's to come, is really making sure I include the life part in my career discovery equation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot there just in terms of like I don't I don't know why it should be a hard question. Like you'd hope like that universities would have like resources that would help people like answer that question more easily. And do you find like at least at Stanford, like is this more of a to me like there seems to be more
Mm.
entrepreneurial like culture around Stanford. Like do you think that's part of it? Like maybe why you wanted to start something like PhD Paths or just I'm just kind of curious just about that element of it because I think
Yeah.
that kind of speaks to me.
Yeah, I think that there is something about Stanford. There's also something
Mhm.
about California. I
Yeah.
think that I've really enjoyed kind of the dreamer culture that you have in California. It's very much
Mhm.
like, okay, if I see a problem, I'm gonna fix it and I'm gonna
Yeah.
create a company around it. And, we're in this space where like Google is created, I drive by Amazon buildings and Uber headquarters and like all these sorts of things, like in a very ripe space for innovation and to use the
Mhm.
very Silicon Valley term, disruption, and I,
Yeah.
I think it's very inspiring. And then right down the road, literally, I just bike past it every day when I go home, is
Mhm.
the Graduate School of Business, which I've taken certificate programs there, taken courses there. I just think
Yeah.
that place alone is also very encouraging. And so
Yeah.
it depends in the science space, kind of who you surround yourself with that's more
Mhm.
interested in the entrepreneurial side of things or more supportive of non-academic careers. I've been very
Mhm.
fortunate to find quite a few professors who are, supportive of me not wanting to be a professor and not only
Yeah.
just supportive, but willing to help. And that's super cool. But you do have to find those people and you have to ask and you have to,
Mhm.
let them know. And so I guess to answer your question, I'm not sure if I have other than Stanford is wonderful. It's a great
Yeah.
place to be somebody who's like trying to dream, and so is California.
Mhm.
At least where I
Yeah.
here where I'm here in the Bay.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I can see the connection there. So I do want to like leave the floor open just for any additional thoughts. Like, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think would really help PhDs or maybe help them like better feel maybe confident about like what's out there? Because that to me, like I always tell people like you can really if you start talking to people, like it really opens doors. It really opens like different paths that exist. Like, do you have any kind of thoughts about that? Anything to help motivate people?
Yes, I have so many thoughts, I think,
Yeah, go
about
for
all
it.
of this. I want to get to the biggest piece of advice. So I would love to
Mm.
share what all of these PhDs have said and kind of like the
Yeah.
biggest piece of advice.
Yeah. What's that one thing?
I'd also would love to share
Yeah.
how they found their job. But
Hmm.
beforehand, I want to back up before I do those two things. And I just want to say this process of creating this resource, and I hope that
Hmm.
readers will find the same thing, is it is so encouraging. I think originally I found it kind of daunting to be told that you can do anything with your PhD. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I mean, I kind of want to be a zipline instructor. Like that would be super cool. Like you can literally do anything. It's your life.
Yeah.
It's your dreams. It's whatever. But I think distilling it down to really understanding people's past. Like, no, what do you do and how did you get there? and
Mhm.
why did you go that direction? More of that detail I found encouraging. And so if anybody comes upon PhD paths and reads the stories, you'll realize that a lot of folks were in your exact same shoes and they just want to help you get to the next step. And you are fully equipped to do so. A lot of people in their PhD feel like
Mhm.
the only skills they have are their research, and that is 100% not the case. There are so many skills you develop in your
Mhm.
PhD, and you need to learn how to communicate those, and then the world is just your
Communication.
oyster.
Yeah, and I think the big word there is like communication, like just being able to translate those skills that you have into like a different culture, because I think that's the big hurdle for a lot of PhDs is like my PhD was in like medieval history, like but I want to go into like consulting, like how do I
Absolutely.
translate that? Like to me, like those are like I think the biggest hurdles, but having like I think as you kind of alluded to like this almost like a blueprint for success. Like there's already people that have done it, so like why do you need to like like you don't I guess I think people think of it like this big open space that's there's not really like you don't know where to go, but like there's literally like a path where people have already walked. Like you don't have to go through like a lot more like difficulties. Like you just got to follow what other people are really doing and see what they're doing for that success. And I think that's the best bet
Absolutely. And
as you
you're
can
not
do.
alone. Yeah, you're not
Yeah, you're
alone
not
in
alone
this.
for.
And also, people have done it before and
Mhm.
you can do it. And I just think one of my goals with PhD Paths is to build it out as a resource. So
Yeah.
right now we have that portfolio as I mentioned, which is just kind of the database. And then we
Hmm.
have the profiles, which are all the informational interviews. And then I am currently creating and building resources for folks to then use. These are going to be called our pathfinders. These are
Hmm.
worksheets and templates and guides and all the things that you can possibly think of for folks to then use and help in the career discovery process. And so hopefully PhD Paths can be that one-stop shop where you can get so many resources to just
Hmm.
crush it, just crush it.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be super beneficial. And it's like you have all these stories like on the site as it is. So I feel like being able to like summarize like these interviews,
Mhm.
I think will be really impactful. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
So
yeah, of course.
I do need to mention those last things before I'm gonna let all the viewers just be
Yeah,
very angry with me. So the
no,
biggest
that's
piece
fine.
of advice that I have to mention,
Mhm.
as well as how people found their job. So the
Yeah.
single biggest piece of advice from 100+ PhDs who have left
Mhm.
academia is to network, network,
Yes.
and network. That is the biggest piece of advice. It is to build your diverse set of networks as early as possible, hold informational interviews, and
Hmm.
use LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just start
Yeah.
as early as possible and network. And I think that that's something that's not talked about as much in the academic space, this concept of networking, the strategy of having connections and a big network.
Mhm.
But when you go to like the business side of things or sort of any other place, it's very much like who you know and
Mhm.
who you're forming connections with, and to do it intentionally, right? This isn't just a numbers game. This is about building
That's true.
connections with people and actually getting to know them and having a relationship with folks and a friendship and offering value and offering more value in order to maybe eventually get value. And so, on that note, the biggest way that folks found careers outside of academia is either through their personal network or LinkedIn. More than 50%
Mhm.
of people found their future career outside of
Mhm.
academia through networking, which is crazy. So that's my
No,
biggest
that's
piece of advice because it's the biggest piece of advice from all of these folks that I've interviewed. And I think people really need to start early. They can't just wait till the end of their PhD or their postdoc to start networking.
yeah, no, that's I think that's really great advice. Like, and it's been I think great advice for years, but I don't know why it hasn't been like talked about in academia
Um,
enough. Like, I guess because if you want to like network internally, like in academia, it's like you're ideally looking for a professor role, but yeah,
sure.
but yeah, there's just so much more out there. So I'm glad we were able to kind of talk about this. But
Yeah.
just for anybody watching or listening, I will be sure to put the website's PhD Paths in the comments or in the description. So please like visit it if you're interested in making a profile as well, or just providing any type of
Mhm.
like background if you've already left your PhD. I think that would be a great add to the site.
Absolutely.
again, thank you, Ashley, for taking time to speak with me. It was good to chat and kind of think about kind of what we're both really passionate about and just kind of helping people really kind of know what's out there outside academia. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you so
Yeah, this
much.
was awesome. Thank you so much. If
Yeah.
anybody wants to connect in
Mhm.
any way, LinkedIn is best for me. I'm sure we can include my profile
Yeah,
link
for
or
sure.
something in the description. And then also PhD Pass has its own email, so you're welcome to email PhD Pass. If you email PhD Pass, you're emailing me. So either way,
Okay.
I'm happy to connect and help folks just form community or provide information on these resources or anything I can do to be of service. So thanks for having me. This is awesome.